It was 1940 in Texas, a time when the divide between black and white people was stark and oppressive. Black individuals were shunned, unable to engage in conversations, run their own businesses, or work independently. They were forced to work under white people, and owning a home was their greatest challenge. This is the story of Bernard, a young black man whose life would change the course of history. Bernard spent his shining shoes in front of banks, not because he needed the money, but because he harbored a dream of becoming a banker himself. He longed to open his own bank, to run his own business, to break free from the shackles of discrimination. His aspirations were grand, but being black meant he couldn't gain admission to any prestigious college. Undeterred, he sought knowledge wherever he could find it. As he polished shoes, Bernard would deliberately work slowly, encouraging his customers to linger. He listened intently to their conversations about banking and finance, carefully noting every detail in his diary after they left. He even went so far as to eavesdrop on the bank manager's conversations. One day, he was caught in the act. His father, worried about his son's lofty ambitions, tried to dissuade him. "You're dreaming too big, son. Those dreams will scatter like dust in the wind." But Bernard knew how to make his dreams a reality. 15 years later, we find Bernard married with a son. Having moved to Los Angeles, the discrimination against black people was less severe in LA compared to Texas, which had motivated Bernard's decision to relocate and start his business there. Initially staying with relatives, Bernard promised his wife they would soon have a home of their own. The next day, Bernard set out to explore Los Angeles, searching for houses that were for sale and within his means to purchase. He noticed that while black communities were densely populated, many homes in white neighborhoods stood empty. This observation sparked a business idea in Bernard's mind. He could buy houses in white communities and sell them to black families. Bernard came across a dilapidated apartment building with numerous vacant units. He approached the owner, proposing to buy the property. "Your building is in terrible condition, yielding no profit. Why not sell it? I'm willing to offer you a good price, $35,000. I'll give you $3,000 in cash now, and the remaining $32,000 once all the apartments are rented out." The owner, though intrigued by Bernard's proposition, was hesitant to engage in such a risky venture. During their conversation, Bernard noticed a calendar on the owner's desk, given by a bank manager. Bidding farewell, Bernard headed straight to the bank. At the bank, Bernard hoped to meet with the manager who had given out the calendar. However, the manager's secretary, harboring prejudice against black people, repeatedly refused to schedule a meeting. As a result, Bernard found himself waiting for hours outside the bank, hoping to catch the manager as he left. When the manager finally emerged, Bernard seized his chance. "I know of a potentially valuable customer for your bank," he said. "I want to do business with them, and if you grant me a loan, it would benefit both your customer and you." The bank manager, however, dismissed Bernard without a second thought. That night, Bernard encountered the businessman whose name he had used in his attempt to secure a bank loan. Feeling guilty, Bernard apologized for his deceit. To his surprise, the businessman was not angry. Instead, he appreciated Bernard's determination and persistence in pursuing his goals, despite facing rejection. "I'm willing to be the guarantor for your loan," the businessman offered, much to Bernard's delight. With this unexpected support, Bernard secured his first bank loan, which he invested in his real estate business. Purchasing the apartment building he had initially approached the owner about. As Bernard and a partner began renovating the building, an elderly white woman confronted them, demanding to know what they were doing. Bernard calmly explained that he was working on the building. The woman, still skeptical, warned him not to damage anything. Bernard reassured her, "Don't worry, ma'am. This is my building, and I'll take excellent care of it." Shocked by this revelation, the woman left, only to return shortly with the police. The officers, informed by the elderly lady that Bernard was claiming ownership of the building in a white community, demanded an explanation. Bernard, prepared for such a situation, produced the legal documents proving his ownership. Convinced, police left without further incident. The next day, as Bernard returned to the building with a lamp, the elderly woman confronted him again. This time, Bernard firmly stated, "I'm not just a renovation worker anymore. I'm the owner of this building." He then entered his apartment, leaving the woman stunned. Within days, the elderly woman moved out, unable to accept living in the same building as a black man. Bernard promptly rented her vacant apartment to a black family. As he had anticipated, there was a high demand for property among black people in Los Angeles. Soon, All the apartments in his building were rented out. Bernard repaid the remaining amount to the building's previous owner and cleared his bank loan. The businessman who had helped Bernard was impressed by his capabilities. He offered Bernard a partnership opportunity, which Bernard eagerly accepted. With the businessman's investment, they purchased another building, renovated it, and rented it out as well. In the real estate market, everyone saw Bernard's business partner, a white man, as the face of their operations. This arrangement allowed them to conduct business without facing discrimination. They split the profits equally between them. After much hard work, Bernard was able to purchase not just an apartment, but also a magnificent house where he moved in with his family. However, challenges were far from over in Bernard's life. A few years later, Bernard's business partner passed away. All of his shares in their company went to his wife. Unlike her late husband, she shared the prejudices of many white people in the area and didn't want to continue working with Bernard. She gave Bernard an ultimatum: sell her all his shares at a low price or face a lawsuit. Bernard knew that given the prevalent discrimination, the judge would likely favor the white woman. Still, he refused to sell his shares, determined to fight for what was rightfully his. To win this case, Bernard needed someone who knew about the business deal between him and his late partner. He remembered the bank manager who had given him the loan. Bernard rushed to meet the bank manager, only to find that his partner's widow had already spoken to him. Feeling defeated, Bernard stood outside the building, looking around. The building housed 4 banks, all of which discriminated against black people. Each of these banks had, at some point, humiliated and discriminated against Bernard. Standing there, a brilliant idea struck Bernard. He thought, what if I buy this entire building? Then let's see how these banks treat me. The only problem was that he still didn't have enough capital for such a large investment. Bernard approached a prominent black businessman in Los Angeles' real estate sector. When Bernard presented his proposal to buy the bank building, the businessman, Joy, burst out laughing. He thought Bernard had lost his mind, given the exorbitant price of the property and the fact that no black person had ever purchased such valuable land in Los Angeles. Bernard calmly explained his calculations, how much they would pay for the land, potential profits, and how they would acquire it. As Joy listened, he realized that Bernard was not just an emotional dreamer, but a shrewd businessman. Bernard concluded by saying, if we buy this bank building, all the banks there will work for us. We won't have to ask for favors anymore. It will be easier for us to get investments, and our real estate business will flourish. Joy was impressed by Bernard's idea. I have a lot of money, he said, but I never thought of something like this. Despite my wealth, I've always worked for white people. But now, I'll work with you. There was still one challenge. They needed a white person to communicate with the white community and convey their message. Bernard assured Joy that he had someone in mind, a white employee named Matt, who was honest and hardworking. Bernard and Joy began preparing Matt for their plan. They taught him the manners of high-class society, how to play golf, and explained their real estate business model. Matt quickly grasped the concepts, including the calculations involved in buying or selling a building. Soon, Matt was playing golf skillfully and could perform real estate calculations with ease. At the golf club, Matt met the owner of the bank building. Joy had arranged this meeting as part of their plan. Matt successfully impressed the building owner, securing a chance for them to purchase the building. However, Matt was nervous about the impending deal, as everything up to this point had been Bernard's plan. Bernard reassured him, don't worry, I'll teach you everything you need to know. That night, Bernard counted the dark windows in the building and calculated the available office space and its financial value. He instructed Matt to memorize these figures and taught him how to calculate them on the spot to avoid confusion during the meeting. The next day, when Matt met with the businessman, they discussed the building's valuation. Matt consistently stayed one step ahead of the businessman's figures, impressing him greatly. The businessman agreed to sell the building. After acquiring the building, Bernard and Joy's position became very strong. Even the bank manager who had once created so many difficulties for Bernard was now amazed to see every bank president in the building coming out of their offices to greet Bernard respectfully. With the support of these banks, Bernard and Joy's real estate business flourished. Their efforts significantly reduced discrimination against black people in Los Angeles. The position of black people became much stronger. They could easily buy houses in Los Angeles, and business opportunities for them increased substantially. People began to prefer working with them. Many buildings emerged where black and white people lived together. Bernard and Joy's business success reached such heights that even the city's white president came to have his picture taken with them. After achieving such success, Bernard returned to Texas to visit his parents. His father, who now took pride in his son's achievements, accompanied Bernard as he showed his son around the city. They stopped at the bank where Bernard used to shine shoes. A boy was still shining shoes there, but Bernard noticed that he only polished the shoes of white people, not black people. Seeing black people still being discriminated against and humiliated here deeply saddened Bernard. He made a resolution in his heart to work towards eliminating this discrimination and raising his voice for the rights of black people. He returned to his business partner Joy and proposed buying the bank building in Texas. At first, Joy thought Bernard had lost his mind, but when Bernard explained the potential benefits, Joy agreed to the purchase. As always, they needed a white person to deal with the white community. They chose Matt for this task again. Matt went to talk to the building's owner, where it was revealed that the building had two owners, a senior and a junior. The senior owner had no objections to selling the building, but the junior owner sensed something was amiss. However, he couldn't do much against the senior owner's decision. After purchasing the bank building, Bernard and Joy also bought the bank itself. They started giving loans on easy terms to black people living in the area so they could buy property, start businesses, and become as successful as white people. Everything was going smoothly until the junior owner started looking into the bank's loan detail. He was shocked to see all the loans were being given exclusively to black people. He met with Bernard and Joy through Matt, threatened them, saying what they had done was illegal. He warned them that federal investigators would be checking their bank in a month, and if any irregularities were found, they would go to jail. Frightened by this news, the three didn't know how to get out of this predicament. Matt suggested buying another bank, which he would run, and transferring all the loans there. Although not an ideal solution, they had no other option. Matt started running the new bank, and his lawyer carelessly signed many loan documents without proper scrutiny. Matt was running this bank according to Bernard's instruction. Problems arose when they learned that federal government officials were coming to inspect their bank as well. It turned out that this was all a game played by the junior owner. Matt was extremely nervous. Bernard, disguised as a worker, went to the bank to listen to the inspection team's conversations. He discovered that the lawyer had made many mistakes, approving loans without any legal basis. As a result, their bank's license was revoked. After the inspectors left, Bernard checked all the documents and asked Matt how such big mistakes could have happened. Matt revealed that the junior owner had selected the lawyer for him. The entire game, from start to finish, was orchestrated by the junior owner, who had used Matt to get revenge on Bernard and Joy. Now their only option was to abandon this bank and move elsewhere. However, Matt wanted to stay with his bank. Against Bernard's advice, he made a move against his own partners, Bernard and Joy. Joy got wind of this and quickly went to the bank with Bernard to retrieve the bank documents. But before they could leave with the documents, FBI agents arrived and seized them. The documents bore the names of Bernard and Joy, and so the FBI arrested them. Sometime later, we see Bernard and Joy meeting with their lawyer. They had been released on bail for a few days to prepare their case. Their lawyer informed them that fighting the case wouldn't be easy, as he knew the judge would favor white people. Meanwhile, Matt had also been arrested, but wanted his freedom. He made a deal with the judge to testify against his partners in exchange for his release. Matt agreed to this condition. Bernard also met with the judge, who offered him a deal. Either give all the money to Matt and live freely, or testify in court as he wished, and then go to jail. A dejected Bernard accepted the second offer. The next day in court, Bernard gave his testimony. He spoke in favor of his people, the black community, explaining how they struggled even to live a simple, decent life and deserve their rights. After giving this statement, Bernard was sent to jail. He had sacrificed everything for his community. Their bank was returned to the junior owner at a very low price. Because he belonged to the white community, he wasn't arrested for any wrongdoing. The story then jumps many years ahead, to the day when Bernard and Joy were to be released from jail. Bernard's wife had come to receive him. Surprisingly, Bernard emerged from jail looking happy, as if he hadn't lost anything in life, as if nothing bad had happened to him. Joy explained the reality to Bernard's wife. They hadn't actually lost any of their properties. Bernard's wife asked in amazement how they had managed this. Bernard explained that the night before going to court, they had received a call from Matt. Matt wanted to apologize for testifying against them, and asked for forgiveness. In return for their forgiveness, Bernard had asked Matt for one favor: to sell all their properties and reinvest the money elsewhere. Matt had followed their instructions perfectly, and now they had an even larger real estate setup than before. Matt would manage it for the rest of his life. Their lives were about to return to normal, perhaps even better than before. With this hopeful note, the story comes to an end, leaving us with a powerful message about perseverance, ingenuity, and the fight against discrimination.